Hi lads and lasses, welcome to Darts Hints, Tips and Advice for Beginners. Again, this is a little bit more advanced, but something I'm sure that you're all going to progress onto at some point or other. This video is about the big day. The big day is your first match, or really rolling on from that, any match that you go to. It's all about what to do and how to cope with going to a match, because the nerves are going to be massive. How to cope with going to the match, what to do, how to do it. Obviously this is all subjective, so it's up to yourself. If you think what I'm telling you is common sense, go for it. Can't do you any harm, and it's what I do. Big thing is you're going to know when this darts match is coming up. Possibly you're going to have paid into it, so when you've paid into it you know that it's coming. What I suggest you do is, I'd say a week before, write yourself a list out of things that, number one, you want to achieve, and number two, things that you've got to do. Right? Everything about your match is your responsibility. There's no turning round and saying, I didn't know, nobody told me this, nobody told me that. It's your job to find out basically what the script is. So before, as I said, write yourself a list out. Early on in it is going to be your practice regime. You're practicing, you're preparing physically for it, basically doing your practicing, doing whatever practice regimes that you do. What I do is I just play, and I play against the droid. And what I do is, as I'm coming up to a match, I'll play on the practice board. I'll play on the practice board against the droid, and attempt to lift my game level. So say you're on a bog standard board, and you've got it on level, say you're up to level 8, so which is quite a good level. Say you're up to level 8, if you go onto the practice board, if you drop it down to number 7, if you can still give the droid a good game, even if you don't beat him, it's going to lift your game immensely, because obviously your doubles and your trebles and your bullseye is half the size of the normal board. So it's going to, as I've said to you in previous videos, it owns your concentration. Right, so we've got that going, we've got the regime, and what you go off is your averages. If you're going to play against the droid, get one that calculates your averages correctly. Russ Bray one, you can, unfortunately with that, you can put whatever score you want into it. There's one called Dart Scorer, which is another one that I use, especially when I'm coming up to a competition, because you can't cheat it. It won't let you put anything in over 180. It calculates your 1 and 3 dart averages correctly. It does, I think it does your first 9. I think it calculates your first 9 for you on every leg if you want it to. So that's your next thing, is you want to, like say, get your averages up, get yourself playing better, and then as you're coming to, I'd say 2 or 3 days before, what I do is I telephone the venue or the organisers, whoever's organising it. Couple of tips here. Number one, what you're wearing. You've got to get this right, because if you turn up to something like Riley's, if you're going to qualify for the UK Open, and you go in the wrong attire, they won't let you play. It's as simple as that. Pardon me. And there was a couple of things on this. Another thing that I'd recommend for you as well is on Facebook. If you've got Facebook, type in tips, tricks and advice for darts, tips, tricks and advice. It's not my site, it's a different site, but it's like a forum, and you'll get loads of good advice on there, and people put up some really good questions and answers. So that's another good thing that you can do in preparation, is get yourself onto a couple of forums, get some advice, and hopefully that'll help you as well. So we're 2 or 3 days before, we've been in touch with the venue. There's some things you want to know. You want to know what the dress code is. Very important what the dress code is. You want to know where the venue is. If it's a proper competition that you're going into, you want to know where the venue is. You want to know what the postcode is, and you want to know any bed and breakfasts or hotels that are around it. 99 times out of 100, the actual venue itself will know of the local B&Bs. If not, you just go on to something like booking.com or somewhere like that, late rooms. Oh, I've got this cold, sorry about this. Go on to late rooms or somewhere like that, get yourself booked into a nice cheap hotel overnight. I know at first it's gonna be hard, possibly depending on what your finances are, because you're paying for your own hotel rooms and you're paying for your entry into the competition. If you get to a point where you come in, I'd say in the first 8, that's probably going to eventually cover. I'll say eventually, after a few tournaments, if you're getting into the last 16 or the last 8, the quarterfinals, your prize money then pays for your next hotel and your next trip to your next tournament. So that's 2 or 3 days before, booking your room, making sure that you know exactly what's going on in the venue, where the venue is, and then next we're getting to the actual day itself. On the day itself, depending on how far you've got to travel, obviously if you've got to travel a long distance, I would recommend that you book the bed and breakfast for the night before, so you can be there, up, refreshed in the morning, into the venue as early as it opens, because a lot of dart competitions, you go and there's a registration and a formal process that happens in the morning. Usually opens 10 o'clock, half 10, half 11, sometimes it's 12 o'clock, and then what they'll do is they'll say venues open at 10 o'clock in the morning, registration, sold to the hockey at 12:30. So if that's the case, what you want to be is you want to be there for when the venue opens, especially if it's your first one, because what you want to do is you want to get there and you want to immerse yourself in the atmosphere, because get there first and then you'll see the people arriving and you'll see the lads coming in. As a general rule, there's 8-10 dartboards up, so you can go and start having a throw and what have you, familiarise yourself with the venue. The other thing to do is don't drink too much, right? There's a lot of people do this. They go, and because they're there for 2 hours beforehand, and they're nervous and they're a bit frightened, they're a bit scared, because it's very, very nerve-wracking. They go and have 2 or 3 pints, and normally they drink them too quick, and you end up a bit not worse for wear, but a couple of pints calms your nerves, but you need those couple of pints to be calming your nerves when you actually play your games, not 2 hours before. So obviously then what you'll do is you'll probably have 2 or 3 pints, and then as you're coming towards your first match you'll think, oh, I better have a top up, and it'll affect your performance. You'll end up wanting to go to the toilet to relieve yourself and all sorts of stuff, and it'll spoil your day. Right, like I say, get to the venue early, get your head straight, get yourself set up on a table or something, so as you've got your darts on there and all your paraphernalia. If you can, don't go on your own. I mean, it sounds like common sense, and it is common sense. If you've got someone there, even if it's only one person, and be it your missus or your brother or one of your best mates or whatever, as long as you've got someone there to cheer you along and to talk to between matches, because hopefully you'll get past the first round, to talk to and what have you, get yourself in, immerse yourself in the atmosphere. Your first match is going to be probably the worst. You're going to be there and your hands are going to be shaking and everything. Like I say, when they call you for your match, right, start trying to calm yourself down. If you feel yourself starting to get hot and nervous and giddy, well, some people get giddy, it all depends on how you get. Some people feel physically sick. There's a lot of big dart players like Gary Anderson who has said on many occasions that he is actually physically sick before he goes on hockey on his first match and what have you. So like I say, your first one's going to be your most nervous. So what you need to do is you need to try and what I do, you don't need to try and do this, it's up to you whether you try my techniques or not, but what I do is I breathe. When I was a young lad, I used to do martial arts, and they taught you about breathing techniques, and that's what I use, and I find that is fantastic because I've learned to do it, and I've learned to do it properly. If you go onto Google and research it, you can get breathing techniques. They do work, believe me, they do work. They work fantastically, and all it's about is about self-control, about calming yourself down. Some people on this tips, tricks and advice, I think it's called again, tips, tricks and advice, on there they're talking about having a bath, about doing other things, about doing this, that and the other. If you want to be successful at it, you need a routine. So your routine is, my routine is make the list, do the practice, get the information, get there early on the day, get yourself set up, get yourself familiar with the venue, so when they call you to whichever board it is that you're playing on, you know exactly where it is. So you're not faffing about and you're not arriving at the hockey late for your game, because they'll only give you so long, couple of minutes, 5 minutes at the most. If you're late, that's it, you've lost, you forfeit the game. So make sure that you've planned and you've prepared, you've got there early. Everything then will go the best that it can go. I'm not going to say that you're going to win, but you'll be prepared and you'll be a lot better than if you just turn up and try flinging the arrows at the board. Another big tip, don't fall foul to something that I fell foul of a few years ago. I went to a very small competition. It was just back pocket money competition, and I'd just changed darts, and halfway through the game I wasn't playing well, and I tried to change back to my old darts and it just went worse. So whatever you do before a competition, don't try changing your throwing style, don't try changing your darts, because on last minute you think things are not going the way that they should be going, because all you'll do is mess yourself up. Right, so nice and structured, what I've just recapped for you. Don't mess about with your equipment, don't mess about with your throwing style just before you go to a competition, because it'll just create disaster, I promise you. Right, so hopefully this has helped one or two of you people out there, all you lads and lasses. And don't forget, as Dave always says, toe to the hockey.